When I was younger, I didn't really like my name. It was a bit awkward to pronounce. As I started understanding of where my parents are from and what they endured to be in this country, I started understanding that it's okay to have a different name, and I should be honoured and I should be proud. So when we meet someone that's Cypriot, we want to quickly find out where they're from or who they are, and just to hear their voice and knowing that there's another person that speaks exactly like you or has come from the same part of Cyprus as you, makes you feel a bit more at ease, knowing that you're not alone. I believe that being Cypriot starts at home with your family around you. I think growing up, for me, I fell in love with Cyprus only because of what my father was telling about his stories and his experiences, and what my mother was telling about her experiences. Of the kitchen is an important one. The way my mother and my grandmother would prepare the food, just to make some sort of food, whether it would be kabak böreği or it would be helim, it would be börek, it would be anything. It would just be a big event. And as the food is being made, as it's being cooked, the smell of it, so just anticipating what it will taste like, you feel excited. As kids, we weren't really thinking about what it all means, because we're just so hungry and it tastes so nice. But as you get older and as you maybe travel back to Cyprus and you see how it's done, you get a sense of, okay, this is where they picked it up from and how they make it, and it's here in modern day times, and we're still doing it. When I was about 5 years old, we went for a family holiday, and that memory of Cyprus and that excitement and the feeling of the family and the experiences and obviously the good weather really stuck, and I've always wanted to go back. I wanted to live in Cyprus, I wanted to be in Cyprus, I wanted to experience the full extent of Cyprus, not just for a holiday, but I wanted to experience everyday life. At 27, I came to a stage where I had this opportunity to move to Cyprus. So I said, yep, I'm gonna do it. And I did that. I went to Cyprus in April 2014. I still remember boarding the plane and having this excitement of a new chapter in my life.
I still remember my mum crying, saying that I'm making the worst decision of my life.
How they escaped Cyprus and all its poverty and negativity and war, and just start a new life here. And I was doing the complete opposite. I was going back into this lifestyle and whatnot. But I guess my parents left it back in 1980 when they moved here. Cyprus has changed. It's become more modernized. It's not as poor as it was back in 74 and 80 when they left.
It took me a long time to adjust to the Cyprus lifestyle. I was like a fish out of water. Everyone had a relaxed way of looking at life and was so chilled. Living and working in Australia and Melbourne was so fast-paced. I didn't know why people in Cyprus did their job so slowly. People were going out every day, even midweek. It was okay to go out and about and go to work the next morning.
Eventually I started, seeing it from their point of view or adjusting. So I think it made me a bit more younger and a bit more spontaneous, a bit more adventurous. I wouldn't want to waste the day indoors or outdoors doing nothing, like at a coffee shop. I'd rather be outside. I'd rather experience the mountains. I'd rather, climb up, Beşmemak Dağları, go visit the castles that we have, go to the harbour. Like, I want to explore Cyprus. not leave, not leave Cyprus, not knowing what I've missed out on. When you visit Cyprus and you see the peace and our families all living safely in the community and freely in the community, knowing that they don't have to go to sleep at night wondering if they're not going to be able to wake up in the morning, or if they have to wake up urgently in the middle of the night and run, or in panic. I guess we're thankful. My father was an asylum seeker in his own country because war had broke out. The Greek Cypriot army there, they came to Limassol where my father was growing up, and they escorted all the males in my father's town, in my father's village in Limassol there. And even though my father was young, he was not exempt, and he was pushed to one side away from my grandmother's hold. My grandmother had my father and begged for my father to be with her, but the Greek soldier at the time, he did not listen. My grandmother said, "Oh, he's a young boy. He's only 15." And the Greek soldier said, "If he's 15, I'm 16." And he put the gun to his chest, and he said, "This way, right." My dad, with my grandfather, had to sit at the hospital for 3 days, so like a prisoner of war, I guess. He was there with all the other Turkish Cypriot males that were there, and every day they would hear threats. Word was getting passed around that the Greeks were taking the Turks and killing them, and they were cutting their fingernails or taking their fingernails off, or gouging their eyes, or cutting their tongues. Said there was a statue or a head of Ataturk at the Turkish hospital. One of the high-ranking officials there said, "This is how I'll gouge your eyes out," and they was gouging Ataturk's eyes out. So after a couple of days of being uncertain, my father spoke to my grandfather and said, "Dad, I'm either going to die here or I'm going to try dying, and I'd rather take the risk and try escape." And he jumped the fence and he fled, and he was lucky enough that he knew the streets well enough and no one actually saw him. My great-grandfather got a word, and with the help from his Greek friend, transported him back to the village. So out of all this war, I guess, between Greeks and Turks and everything my dad witnessed, it was a Greek that sort of saved his life, because who knows what would have happened if he couldn't pass the checkpoints. I went through phases of feeling angry because at the end of the day, my parents had to leave home. I didn't want them to experience that pain. I was hateful towards, sort of for my own pain, that I'm not able to be with my grandparents and my cousins and experience Cyprus and be like a million miles away, where I could have been with my grandparents. I could have sat on my grandfather's lap, which I never got to. I never got to sit in front of my grandfather's lap. I never got to celebrate my birthdays there. Never got a hug. Never celebrated Bayram. I missed out on all these experiences that I wanted to have because of a war. And I can't really express how much gratitude I have for the Turkish soldiers that came and helped us, because they didn't have to come. Without Turkey, I wouldn't be here, and my parents wouldn't be here, and we wouldn't have our cultures. So yeah, we could have been like a Syria. We could have been worse. We could have been maybe like a Palestine. We're lucky enough that we have our own country, and we can keep our own culture, and no one can take that away from us. The Mehmetçik is the one that has kept us alive for all these years. Or without them, our culture wouldn't live. Would only be talked about and seen in books and movies. I felt secure living in Cyprus. I did not have the fear that my parents had. I tried to make up for all the lost time. I tried to experience all the things that I didn't get to experience when I was younger. Yeah, I was able to experience, being around family, going to places, from the beaches to the mountains. Cyprus is much more than just a holiday or a touristic place. It feels more of a home. I do miss North Cyprus. As we all know, we're always going to be connected to Australia. At the end of the day, I guess we're half Australian, half Turkish Cypriot. Well, I'm here back in Australia. The door's never shut for us here in Australia, and we're grateful for that. The only reason that I did make my way back was I do miss Australia as much as I miss North Cyprus. I'm lucky enough to have both identities.